They laughed at me when I had nothing. They ignored me when I stayed silent. But they never understood a broken bar I was draining. I wasn't weak, I was becoming unshakable. Let that thought sit in your heart. Let it dig deeper than your skin and deeper than your pride. All the way into your soul, because if you've ever felt underestimated, if you've ever been misunderstood while staying quiet, if you've ever swallowed the urge to react because you were building something inside, then you know. True power is not loud. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't demand recognition. It walks quietly, and then suddenly, everyone feels its presence. You don't chase power. You don't beg for it. You train until it becomes your shadow. But here's the truth that few people talk about. That power doesn't come from proving yourself to the world, it comes from mastering yourself when no one's watching. You don't build this kind of strength by accident. You build it in the moments where everything in you wants to react, but you remain calm. When everything in you wants comfort, but you choose growth. When every voice in your head screams to quit, but your discipline whispers, "Not yet." Keep going. Every single day, the world pulls at you. It wants your reaction, your attention, your weakness. The world wants to own your emotions so it can control your direction. From the moment you wake up, notifications beg you to feel something: anger, envy, insecurity. People provoke you just to see if they can steal a piece of your peace. Pain shows up and dares you to explode. And most people do. They react. They explode. They spiral. Because they were never taught how to train their mind. But you have a different mission. Because the truth is, reacting is easy. Remaining still, that's a skill. Anyone can be loud. Anyone can scream. But only those who have trained in silence can walk through fire without showing the flames. There's a story I need to tell you. One that might remind you of yourself. There was once a boy who rarely spoke. He came from a home full of chaos where volume equaled strength, and silence was mistaken for weakness. He watched the world around him shout to be heard. He watched people throw punches just to be respected. He watched others raise their voices, demand validation, and confuse fear with authority. But he didn't join in. He stayed quiet. He watched. He observed. He absorbed. He paid attention, and not to control others, but to master himself. And they mocked him for it. They called him soft. They called him invisible. They thought he was nothing. They thought silence meant surrender. But they didn't know what he was doing in the background. They didn't know he was studying while they partied. They didn't know he was training while they were wasting time. They didn't know he was reading when they were shouting. They didn't know he was healing while they were hurting others. Years passed. The loud ones faded. The dramatic ones burned out. The chaotic ones collapsed under their own weight. But the boy, he returned not as the quiet child they dismissed, but as a man with presence. He didn't need to raise his voice. His presence spoke louder than words. He didn't need to prove anything. His discipline had already done the proving. And suddenly, the same people who once laughed at a broken bar listened. Because that's what happens when you train your mind. One day, you no longer have to chase power. It follows you. That story might not be just a story. It might be your life in disguise. And maybe today is the day you realize that your silence wasn't weakness, it was preparation. That your patience wasn't passivity, it was practice. That your calm wasn't emptiness, it was control. See, the untrained mind is a slave to everything it feels. It gets triggered easily. It takes things personally. It lashes out without thinking. It lives in survival mode. But a trained mind, it observes before it reacts. It understands before it judges. It breathes before it speaks. It protects peace over ego. It doesn't give its energy to everything that moves. It guards its power like it was gold, or because it is. When you start training your mind, everything changes. You no longer get pulled into pointless arguments. You no longer need to win every battle. You begin to value peace more than being right. You begin to let go of what doesn't serve your growth. You start to act with purpose instead of reacting from pain. That's when people start asking, what changed in you? The answer: you stopped being controlled by what you couldn't control. You started choosing your responses instead of being owned by your reactions. Your mind is either your prison or your freedom. If you let it wander, it will trap you in comparison, self-doubt, insecurity, rage, and regret. But if you train it, it will lead you toward peace, power, clarity, and control. And here's what they don't teach in school: It's not the strongest who succeed, it's the most disciplined. It's not the loudest who are respected up, it's the calmest. It's not the ones with the most followers up, it's the ones who can lead themselves. That kind of power is earned through repetition, through rituals, through resistance. Train your mind to crave discomfort, because that's where strength grows. Train it to breathe through pain instead of run from it. Train it to wait, to observe, to calculate how, because not every attack deserves your reaction. Train it to sit with uncertainty, to lean into silence, to find clarity in solitude. Train it to want the hard path, and not because you're a martyr, but because the easy path makes weak minds. Every morning you wake up, you have a choice, either train or remain. You can either train your mind to focus, or you'll be a slave to distraction. You can train your mind to say no to temptations, or you'll be owned by them. You can train your mind to act with intention, or be used by people who have agendas. This kind of mental training isn't optional, it's survival. Life will throw storms at you, betrayals, failures, rejections, and loss. If your mind isn't trained, these things will break you. But if your mind is fragile, these things will reveal you. You are not your emotions. You are not your circumstances. You are not your past. You are what you choose to do with all of it. Train your mind until your peace can't be stolen. Train it until silence feels more powerful than noise. Train it until restraint feels stronger than revenge. Train it until presence becomes your posture, and not fear, not anxiety, not anger, just steady presence. And how do you do it? You start small. You win the first hour of your day. You sit in silence before the world begins. You breathe deeply. You set your intention. You do the hardest thing first. You challenge yourself to sit with discomfort. You choose not to react when someone provokes you. You reflect before you respond. You write your thoughts down. You turn pain into wisdom. You face your fears instead of running. You replace complaining with gratitude. And then you do it again, and again, and again. Over time, your mind becomes different. Not perfected but stronger. You start to notice things, how you're less reactive, more aware, more composed, how your energy feels grounded, how people respect your calm, your consistency, your confidence. And the beautiful part, you don't need to chase any of that. It comes to you, because power always finds the one who trained in silence. There's nothing louder than quiet strength. There's nothing more powerful than a person who has mastered their own mind. And when you get to that place, life changes. You stop explaining yourself. You stop begging to be understood. You stop needing approval. You stop fearing solitude, because you realize that your power was never out there. It was inside, waiting to be trained. Train your mind until your presence speaks for itself, until you can walk into any room and not shrink, until you can walk away from chaos and not look back, until you can feel pain and still stay focused, until you can be alone and still feel full. Let others chase attention. Let others chase validation. Let others chase noise. You chase mastery. And one day quietly, without warning, a power will follow you, and it won't be borrowed. It will be yours, earned, real, unshakable, because you trained for it, because you never quit when no one clapped, because you kept going when silence was your only reward, because you chose to master your minda and the rest followed. Now go back to your training. The world has seen enough noise. Thank you. It's time it felt your power.